Welcome to the Nameless.
It gives perfect advice about things that haven't happened yet. The first time it happened, I assumed it was just one of those weird half-thoughts you get when you're tired. You know the kind. Your brain throws out a sentence that feels like it came from somewhere else, a random thought that isn't quite yours. Most people ignore those. I didn't, because the voice in my head didn't feel random. It felt specific. And worse than that, it was right. The first piece of advice it gave me was harmless. I was standing in my kitchen, staring at a cracked coffee mug I'd had since college. The handle had finally snapped that morning. I remember thinking I should throw it out, but then a thought appeared, clear, fully formed. Don't throw it away yet. I paused. The thought felt strange, not like my normal inner voice. My thoughts usually feel fuzzy, like they form as I'm thinking them. This one arrived finished, like someone had already typed the sentence before handing it to me. I shrugged and put the mug back on the counter. 20 minutes later, my sister called. She asked if I still had that stupid mug with the faded mountain on it. Apparently, she had bought it for me during a trip we barely remembered. She said it was the only souvenir she'd ever gotten me, so she wanted it back. If I'd thrown it away when I first thought about it, it would have been gone. But I hadn't, because of that sentence. Don't throw it away yet. At the time, I laughed about it. Just coincidence. Brains are weird. A few days later, it happened again. I was driving home from work. Traffic was light, late afternoon. Nothing unusual. I was approaching an intersection I'd passed through maybe 1,000 times. Green light, no cars coming. But then the voice appeared again. Sharp, certain. Slow down. I remember frowning. There was no reason to slow down, but the thought felt heavy, like it landed with weight behind it. So I eased off the gas. And that's when a truck blasted through the red light, not even close to stopping. If I hadn't slowed down, I probably wouldn't be telling this story. The truck missed my front bumper by maybe 2 feet. The driver didn't even notice me. He just kept going. I sat there for a long time after the light changed, hands on the steering wheel, trying to figure out what had just happened. Because I knew something uncomfortable. The voice had warned me before the truck appeared. After that, I started paying attention. Not obsessively, at least not at first. But every once in a while, another sentence would show up. Always short, always calm. Bring an umbrella tomorrow. It rained. Check your email now. There was a message from my boss asking for something urgent. Leave 10 minutes earlier. Construction had shut down my usual route. It never predicted anything dramatic. No lottery numbers, no huge revelations, just small things, everyday things, but always slightly ahead of reality. Like it was reading the next few pages of my life before I got there. For a while, I convinced myself it was just intuition. People have gut feelings, pattern recognition, subconscious processing, that kind of thing. But there was one problem with that explanation. The voice didn't feel like intuition. It felt separate, not in a dramatic way. It wasn't loud, it wasn't emotional, it didn't argue with me. It simply placed sentences in my mind, like quiet suggestions, and then disappeared. About 2 months in, something changed. The advice stopped being about small things. Instead, it started being about places. One evening, I was scrolling on my phone when the voice appeared again. Just one sentence. Don't go home yet. I blinked. That was new. I was already in my car, parked outside my apartment building. I stared at the entrance. Nothing looked unusual, but the sentence stayed there in my head. Not repeating, just sitting, waiting. So I drove to a nearby gas station instead. Walked around for a few minutes. Bought a soda I didn't want. Then I went home. Later that night, while taking out the trash, I saw 3 police cars parked outside my building. Apparently, there had been some kind of disturbance in the lobby earlier that evening. No details, just a vague explanation from the landlord. Again, the timing was perfect. And again, the voice had been right. That was the moment I stopped treating it like coincidence, because coincidences happen once, maybe twice, not dozens of times, not with perfect timing, and definitely not with that strange, detached tone. Like whoever or whatever was speaking didn't care if I listened. It just knew I would. Then the voice started talking about a place I had never heard of. The first time it mentioned it, I was brushing my teeth, half asleep, staring at myself in the mirror, and the sentence appeared. "You should visit Larkspur Station." I spat toothpaste into the sink. "Larkspur Station?" I said out loud. The words sounded unfamiliar, like a town name from a travel brochure, but I had never heard it before. I checked my phone. Nothing nearby had that name. No train station, no town, nothing. So I ignored it. The next day, the sentence appeared again. "You should visit Larkspur Station." Same wording, exactly the same. That's when it started bothering me, because the voice had never repeated itself before. Not once, until now. For the next week, it kept happening. Not constantly, just once a day. Sometimes while I was driving. Sometimes while I was cooking. Sometimes when I was trying to sleep. Always the same sentence. "You should visit Larkspur Station." Eventually, curiosity won, so I searched for it. And that's when things got strange, because nothing came up. No town, no station, no historical record, no old train line, nothing. It was like the place didn't exist. But then something else happened. Late one night, while scrolling through satellite maps, I noticed something odd. About an hour outside the city, there was a stretch of road with almost no information. No photos, no street view, just a narrow road cutting through forest. And at the end of that road, a rectangular clearing, perfectly straight edges, like something had been built there once. But there was no label, no name, just an empty space on the map. I stared at it for a long time, and then the voice appeared again, quiet, certain. That's it. I didn't go immediately. I told myself it was stupid, but the idea kept sitting in the back of my mind, like an unfinished sentence. 2 weeks later, I found myself driving there, almost without deciding to, just following the GPS toward that empty clearing. The road got narrower the farther I went. Eventually, the pavement turned to gravel, then dirt. Trees closed in on both sides. No houses, no signs, no other cars, just forest and silence. The clearing appeared suddenly, like someone had carved a rectangle out of the woods. At first, I thought it was empty. Then I saw the platform. Concrete, cracked, half covered in weeds. And next to it, an old metal sign. Rusty, faded, but still readable. Larkspur Station. My stomach dropped, because the voice had been right again. The place looked abandoned for decades. No tracks, no buildings, just the platform and the sign. And something else. Silence. Not normal quiet. The kind of silence where you notice things missing. No birds, no insects, no wind, just still air. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes. Nothing happened. No trains, no people, no sounds, just that empty platform. Eventually, I got back in my car and left. That night, the voice didn't say anything. For the first time in months, total silence. And for some reason, that bothered me more than the voice ever had. The next morning, I started researching again. This time, I dug deeper. Local archives, old newspapers, railroad maps, anything. But Larkspur Station didn't exist. Not just now. Ever. No train line had ever run through that area. No station had ever been built there. According to every official record, the place I had visited yesterday had never been there at all. I drove back 2 days later. Same road, same forest. But when I reached the clearing, it was gone. Just trees, dense, unbroken, like the road had always ended there. No platform, no sign, no concrete, nothing. Even the GPS map looked different. The clearing wasn't there anymore, just forest. I tried to find it again after that, 3 more times. Every trip ended the same way. Trees, nothing else. Like the place had folded itself out of existence. Eventually, I stopped trying. Months passed. The voice returned to normal. Small advice, tiny warnings, never mentioning the station again. Almost like that part of the conversation was over. But there's one detail that still bothers me. Something I didn't notice until much later, because last week I was cleaning my car, vacuuming under the seats, when I found something wedged in the floor mat. A small piece of metal, rusty, rectangular. It took me a second to recognize it, because it looked exactly like the corner of an old train ticket, stamped, faded, and barely readable. But the words were still there. Larkspur Station, one way. And here's the part that keeps me awake at night. I don't remember taking a ticket. I don't remember seeing a ticket booth. I don't remember anyone else being there. Just the platform, the silence, and that empty station. But sometimes when the voice speaks now, it says something new. Not advice, not warnings, just a quiet reminder. You already went once. And every time I hear that sentence, I get the uncomfortable feeling that the trip I remember taking might not have been the first one.